Days turned into weeks. Simba left quietly that day, but not before placing flowers on Momo's grave and whispering, "Rest now. She knows." After that, I couldn't sleep well. Not because I was scared, but because I had seen too much to stay silent. Everywhere I looked, I saw girls like Momo, young wives with sad eyes. Teenage girls forced into marriage with men old enough to be their grandfathers. Mothers with bruises they hid behind headscarves. Daughters carrying pain in silence, because the village said, a woman must endure. But why? Why must a woman endure love instead of enjoy it? Why must she stay in a house that breaks her, just so people will say she is a good wife? One day, I walked to the school near our village and asked to speak to the girls. The headmaster was confused. "What do you want to tell them?" "Truth," I said. "Something nobody told me." They sat under the mango tree, their eyes wide, some swinging their feet nervously. I stood in front of them, wearing Momo's necklace. "My name is Freya," I said. "And I want to tell you something you've never heard in school." I told them about Momo. About how she cried for choosing peace over pain. I told them about Papa. About how pride can look like strength but destroy everything it touches. I told them, love is not supposed to hurt you. Love is not supposed to silence you. If someone loves you, they protect you, listen to you and grow with you. Some girls cried, some looked confused, but all of them listened. That was the beginning. Soon, the older women began calling me names: spoiler of daughters, homebreaker, and Momo rebellion. But others started coming to me in secret. A girl named Marvel came one evening with her lips swollen. "He beats me when his food is cold," she whispered. She was only 17. Another girl, just 16, was being forced to marry a man from another village. "I don't even know his face," she said, shaking. So I started a circle. A secret one. Just 10 girls at first. We met in Momo's old room. I called it the Room of Truth. We didn't have money, no support, but we had something powerful: stories. Pain turned into words, words turned into strength. But as we grew, the elders grew angrier. They said I was corrupting the future wives of the village. One evening, they summoned me. All the elders were there, sitting in a circle. The head elder, Chief Kama, looked at me with eyes like thunderclouds. "We have heard of your meetings," he said. "You are teaching rebellion. You want to break tradition." "No," I said calmly. "I want to break pain." The women gasped. Chief Kama leaned forward. "Do you think you are wiser than our ancestors?" "No," I said. "But I think I'm wiser than my father." The silence was sharp. I continued. "My mother was one of many. This village buries women like secrets. And I won't let you bury our daughters too." An old woman in the corner began to cry, and for the first time, an elder woman spoke for me. It was Elder Mora. She stood up slowly, her hands shaking. "My own daughter cried with bruises on her neck," she said. "She was told to endure, and she endured until she stopped breathing. Please let this girl speak." The room went quiet, and just like that, the ground shifted again, but I wasn't ready for what came next that night. A note was slipped under my door. No name, no handwriting I recognized, just 5 words that shook me to my bones. "Your father had another child." The paper in my hand felt like fire. I read it again and again, hoping it would change. But it didn't. I sat on Momo's old bed, holding the letter tightly. My hands were shaking and my mind was spinning. Another child? When? Where? Who? I thought about all those years Papa used to disappear for days. The moment he said he was doing business in another town, and how he would return smelling of strange perfumes, with no explanation. I wanted to scream. Mama had cried alone. Heartbroken and haunted, and Papa. He was living a second life. I stayed up all night, reading the letter over and over. At the bottom was one more line: she lives in Togo. She has your eyes. 2 days later, I packed a small bag and traveled to Togo. I didn't tell anyone, not even the girls in the room of truth. I needed answers. Alone, the address written on the note led me to a narrow compound with cracked walls and an old gate hanging by one hinge. Chickens ran around the yard, and 2 children played with a broken tire. I knocked on the wooden door. A young woman opened it. She froze when she saw me. Her eyes and mine widened in shock. We stared at each other like mirrors that had finally found their missing pieces. Freya. She whispered. Yes. She stepped back slowly. I was told you might come one day. Her name was Miriam. She was 22. Just 1 year younger than me. We sat in silence for a long time. Then she spoke. My mother met your father when she was just 19. He told her he wasn't married. Said he was a widower. I held my breath. She believed him. She loved him. She even followed him once to your village. That's how she found out. My heart sank. Found out. What? I asked. That he wasn't a widower. That your mother was alive. And you existed. I closed my eyes, pain pressing on my chest. She left him that day. She raised me alone, with nothing. He never came back. Never sent money nor said sorry. But how did you know about me? I asked. Miriam reached under the table and pulled out a small box. Inside were letters, unopened. All addressed to Freya, but never sent. I found these in front of my door. Letters to you. Maybe he couldn't send them. Maybe he was too ashamed. I opened one. My daughter, if you ever find out what I did, please forgive me. I broke your mother. I broke you too. I only knew how to be feared, not loved. I failed the both of you. Tears rolled down my cheeks. I hated him, Miriam whispered. Until I read this. Then I just pitied him. We sat in silence again. Sisters, broken by the same man. Later that evening, I took her to Mama's grave. She knelt beside it and cried. I'm sorry, she whispered to the dirt. You didn't deserve what happened. You were the real wife. And I knelt beside her. It's not about who was the wife, I said. It's about who was wounded. And we both were. When we returned to the village, tongues wagged, 2 daughters from 2 different mothers. His shame is alive and walking. But we didn't care. We had each other now, and the girls from the room of truth. They embraced Miriam like a long-lost sister. One night, while sweeping the back of Momo's old house, Miriam found something, a hidden box, under the floorboard. Inside were Momo's old diaries. We read every page together. One entry broke my heart the most. Today, I looked into Freya's eyes and saw strength. One day, she will break this curse. One day, she will tell the story they all tried to hide, and when she does, even the dead will finally rest. I looked at Miriam. Mama was waiting for us. She nodded. Let's make her proud. The idea came in like a dream. I saw Mama, standing by the mango tree, smiling softly. Her dress was white, her hands open. Behind her stood a house. It had no windows, no doors. Just a warm glow inside and the sound of soft voices, crying, praying, and laughing. When I woke up, I whispered, Mama's house. That same morning, I told Miriam, we have to do something. Something bigger than just our stories. Mama gave her life. We have to make it count. She nodded, tears already in her eyes. Yes. A house for girls like her. Like us. We found an old, abandoned building near the river. The roof was broken. The floor was cracked. But the walls were still standing, just like us. We cleaned it with our bare hands, we sewed our clothes, braided hair for money, fetched water for villagers, anything to buy cement and nails. The girls from the Room of Truth helped us carry bricks, and slowly, the house came alive again. We painted it yellow, Mama's favorite color. At the gate, we hung a wooden sign, Mama's house, where no girl cries alone. The first girl who came was only 14. Her name was Zubaida. She had run from a forced marriage to a 60-year-old man who already had 4 wives. I want to be a nurse, she said, holding her books tightly. We gave her a mattress and a warm plate of food. The next day, another girl came, then another, and another. But peace doesn't live long where pride still breathes. Soon, the village elders called another meeting. This time, the crowd was bigger and angrier. At the center of it all stood Elder Shuka, Papa's cousin and the new head of the family since Papa's death. He was tall, loud, and sharp-tongued. You girls have built a shelter for shame, he shouted. You are teaching rebellion, disobedience, and spitting on your father's name. I stood up slowly, heart beating hard. My father's name doesn't feed us. It doesn't heal wounds. It doesn't carry girls out of graves. This house does. Gasps filled the air. Elder Shuka's eyes narrowed. You think you are brave, Freya. You think you are doing good. Let me tell you something. He pulled out a small file. Yellowed with age, he opened it slowly. Your father was once accused of assaulting a housemaid. He paid the family to stay silent. I felt the earth shift under my feet. He also forced your mother to abort her first child, a boy, because he didn't want her to get too comfortable. The words hit like thunder. I couldn't breathe. Elder Shuka smiled cruelly. Your mother wasn't just a victim. She was a prisoner. The villagers stared at me, some with pity, some with shame. I turned to Miriam. She took my hand. I don't care, she said, voice firm. Let them shout. We know who Mama was. And we know who we are. That night, I cried, not because of the shame, but because I finally understood something. Sometimes, the people we love most carry the darkest shadows, but their shadows do not have to become ours. The next morning, I stood before the girls in Mama's house. I told them the truth. My father was a broken man. And yes, he broke others too. But from now on, the only thing his name will carry is change. The girls clapped. Miriam hugged me tightly. Weeks passed. We began teaching the girls how to read, write, sew, and speak for themselves. We brought in nurses, lawyers, and even one old midwife who had delivered over 200 babies. Mama's house became more than shelter, it became hope. But in the shadows, Elder Shuka was planning something dangerous, and soon, we would learn that even truth has a price. The house was full that evening. Zubaida was laughing as she braided Busy's hair. 2 new girls, just rescued from a nearby village, were peeling cassava in the kitchen. Miriam and I were in Mama's old room, stitching old clothes into curtains. Mama's house was alive, full of broken girls healing, but in the shadows. A plan was burning. That same night, Elder Shuka met 3 men behind the old shrine. One of them had a face I would never forget, Okon. My father's former friend, the same man who once beat his wife until she lost her baby. The man Mama feared, he was back. You said we should destroy the house, Okon grinned. We can do it. One night is all we need. Elder Shuka spat on the ground. It must look like an accent. Fast fire and quiet. No police. No noise. Just ashes. They all agreed. To them, Mama's house was a threat, a place where girls found their voices, a place that taught them to say no. They couldn't allow that. 3 nights later, it happened. We had just finished night prayers. The generator was off. The sky was quiet. And the stars blinking like sleepy eyes. Then we smelled it, smoke, someone screamed. I rushed out. Flames were crawling up the side of the building. Dry leaves, soaked in fuel and lit like paper. Fire. Fire. The girls panicked. Zubaida was coughing. Busy fainted. A young girl with a broken leg was stuck in her room. Miriam ran back inside without thinking. Let me get her. Shouted, no, Miriam, wait. I screamed, chasing her in. The smoke was thick. I couldn't see anything. I could only hear coughing, choking and crashing. Then I saw her, Miriam, carrying the girl on her back, tears running down her ash-covered face. We stumbled out just as the roof collapsed. Boom, sparks flew into the sky like angry spirits. Mama's house, gone. The fire was put out by neighbors. Some came to help, others came just to watch. The next morning, we stood in front of the burned building, holding hands. Ashes blew into our eyes. The sign that once read "Where no girl cries alone" was now blackened. The words melted. I turned to the girls. We lost the house, I said, voice breaking. But not our mission. Miriam stepped forward. They tried to burn our bodies, she said. But they forgot our voices don't catch fire. News spread fast. Radio stations started talking. House for abused girls burnt by unknown arsonists. An NGO reached out, offering help. A woman from the city, a lawyer, drove down and met us by the ashes. I watched you on TV, she said. You're doing what our government should be doing. We'll rebuild this house. Better and stronger. For the first time in weeks, I smiled, but just when we thought things were turning around, something happened. A little boy, no more than 8, came running one evening. His eyes were wide. His voice shook. My sister is gone. He cried. A man from the shrine took her. He says she belongs to the gods. We rushed to his village. There, tied to a tree near the forest, was a girl, barely 12, her hands trembling, face swollen from crying. The villagers stood around, silent. She's the offering, said the priest coldly. We do this every 5 years. The gods must eat. We were promised blessings. I couldn't believe it. This was 2020, and they were still sacrificing children in silence. Miriam shouted, who promised you blessings? A god that drinks blood. No one answered, so I stepped forward. Let her go. If you want to sacrifice someone, sacrifice me. The crowd gasped. The priest blinked. Miriam screamed, Freya, what are you doing? I whispered, trust me. The priest walked towards me, but before he could speak, sirens wailed in the distance. The lawyer had called the police. Officers rushed in, cut the girl loose, and arrested the priest. He screamed curses as he was taken away, but the girl was safe. That night, we gave her a mattress and a warm plate of food. She didn't say a word. But she didn't cry either. We were tired. Burnt and wounded, but we were not defeated, because Mama's house wasn't just a building, it was us. It was every girl who said, enough. It was every woman who chose life over shame, and now the world was listening. Then the new house stood tall, bigger and stronger. There was a small library, clinic, and classroom now. We called it Mama's House Reborn. Every time I walked through the front gate, I felt Mama's spirit with me, smiling and proud. Girls from 5 different villages now lived with us. Zubaida had passed her exams. She was now applying to nursing school. Busy had started teaching the younger girls how to read. Miriam and I, we became like second mothers to all of them. We had no money, but we had something more powerful, a purpose. One day, as I was sweeping the compound, my phone rang. A woman's voice came through. "Is this Freya Komora?" "Yes. You've been selected to speak at the National Women's Conference in Abuja. The whole country will be watching. Will you come and share your story?" I dropped the broom. I couldn't speak. 2 weeks later, Miriam and I booked a flight to the capital. We wore our best dresses, long and simple, just like Mama used to sew when my name was called. I walked to the stage with shaking legs, hundreds of women, cameras and reporters. I took a deep breath, then I told the story, everything about Mama's pain, Papa's pride, the room of truth, the fire, the girls, and when I finished, the hall was quiet and silent for 5 seconds, then applause. Loud, powerful and unending. Some women stood and clapped with tears in their eyes. A minister approached me afterward. "We will help fund Mama's house across the country," she said. "Girls need a place to heal." That same evening, as we prepared to leave, a small woman approached me with an envelope. "I worked in the court where your father's documents were stored," she whispered. "He left a will. It was hidden. His family didn't want you to see it." I opened the envelope with trembling fingers. Inside was 1 page. "To Freya and Miriam, if you're reading this, I am gone. I don't ask for your forgiveness. I don't deserve it, but I leave everything I have, the land, the house, the small savings, to you, not because I was a good father, but because you are good daughters. I see now that pride builds nothing, love does, Papa." I wept, because even in death, his truth was finally born. Months passed. We expanded Mama's house to 2 more villages. The sign now read, "Mama's house, where no girl cries alone," now in every village. Zubaida became our first graduate. She wore a white coat and stood proudly beside her mother, who had once disowned her. "I'm proud of you," her mother said through tears. "You are more than a bride. You are a light." Miriam began writing a book. Busy got a scholarship. I started training more girls to become shelter leaders, and I knew Mama's house would never cry. Moral lesson: pride can destroy families, but truth rebuilds them. Every broken girl deserves a second chance. And every woman can become her own hero.